Right now, somewhere on Earth, a human is crying over a breakup, a sad movie, or just because their coffee spilled. And here's the weird part. No other animal on this planet does that. Dogs whine. Elephants trumpet. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, scream and thrash when they're upset. But not one of them produces actual tears from emotion. You are the only species on Earth that cries because you feel something. And that should sound insane to you, because from an evolutionary standpoint, crying makes zero sense. Tears blur your vision at exactly the moment. You might need to see clearly, during an argument, a threat or a crisis. They signal weakness to predators and rivals. And yet somehow this trait didn't get erased by evolution. It survived. Which means it must have been doing something incredibly important for our ancestors to keep it around. Now you might be thinking, but what about elephant seals? What about crocodile tears? Good question. Elephants have been photographed with wet eyes after losing a calf, and sea turtles cry while laying eggs. But scientists confirmed these aren't emotional tears. They're just excess salt being flushed out of the body. Same with crocodiles. The phrase crocodile tears exists because crocodiles do leak fluid while eating, but it's just their eye glands being squeezed by their jaw muscles. Nothing to do with feelings. As far as real scientific evidence shows, humans are still the only confirmed species that cries, specifically because of emotion. Here's something most people don't know. You actually produce 3 completely different kinds of tears, and only one of them is emotional. The first is basal tears, the thin layer, constantly coating your eyes so they don't dry out. The second is reflex tears, the flood that happens when you cut an onion or get shampoo in your eyes. But the third kind, emotional tears, are chemically different from the other two. Biochemists have found that emotional tears contain higher levels of stress hormones and natural painkillers than reflex tears, which means when you cry from sadness, your body isn't just leaking water. It's literally flushing stress chemicals out of your system. Interesting side note, newborn babies cry constantly, but they don't actually produce tears for the first few weeks of life. Their tear ducts haven't fully developed yet, which means that piercing scream a baby makes is a pure survival signal with zero emotional tears involved. Just biology forcing the adults around it to pay attention immediately. Actual emotional tears don't show up until a baby is old enough to start forming social bonds, usually around 1 to 3 months old. In other words, tears aren't just an accident of biology. They show up exactly when social connection starts to matter. So why would ancient humans evolve a built-in stress release button? One leading theory comes down to survival in groups. Early humans lived in small tribes where cooperation meant life or death. A crying face is impossible to fake convincingly and impossible to ignore. It's a distress signal that says, "I need help," without a single word. In a world with no phones, no texting, and no way to call for backup, tears may have been one of the fastest ways to say something is wrong to the people around you. And it worked both ways. Research shows that seeing someone cry actually triggers empathy, responses in the brain of the person watching. It softens anger. It lowers aggression. Basically, tears might have been an ancient peace treaty, a way to stop a fight, ask for comfort, or pull your tribe closer together instead of pushing them away. Try that with a chimpanzee. It doesn't work the same way because they never developed this signal. And this social signal became so powerful that entire cultures built rituals around it. In ancient Egypt, professional mourners were hired to cry loudly at funerals, believing tears helped guide the soul into the afterlife. In parts of the Middle East and Asia, elaborate public grieving ceremonies still exist today, where community members cry together as a way to share the emotional weight of loss. Meanwhile, in some cultures, particularly in parts of East Asia and Northern Europe, crying in public is seen as something to suppress. Same biology, completely different rules, proving crying isn't just wired into your body, it's also shaped by the world around you. Here's something that sparks a lot of debate. Studies show that on average, women cry more frequently than men, partly biological, partly cultural. Testosterone appears to suppress crying, while prolactin, a hormone more abundant in women, may make tears come easier. But cultural conditioning plays a massive role too. In many societies, boys are taught from a young age to suppress crying, which doesn't eliminate the biological urge. It just teaches people to override it, which might explain why so many men report crying more easily as they get older, once social pressure starts to fade. Fast forward to today, and the signal still works exactly the same way. Even though the situations are completely different. Your ancestors cried because a predator killed their food source or a tribe member betrayed them. You cry because a text says seen with no reply, or because your favorite character died in a show. The trigger changed. The biology didn't, and that's also why crying often feels oddly good afterward. Studies show that a solid cry can lower cortisol, the stress hormone, and increase oxytocin and endorphins, the same chemicals, responsible for feeling calm and safe. So when someone says, "I just need a good cry," they're not being dramatic. They're literally asking their body to run a built-in reset button that's been in our biology for millions of years. So the next time you cry over something that seems small, remember, you're not broken and you're not weak. You're running software that helped your ancestors survive, bond, and stay human in a world that could kill them in 100 different ways. Out of every species on this planet, evolution decided you were the one that got to feel this deeply. That's not a flaw. That's kind of amazing. If this blew your mind, subscribe, because next time, we're diving into something even weirder, about how your ancient brain still runs your life.